What is up, YouTube? It is Dev here. Your boy is back. It's been a couple months since my last YouTube video. I know you guys probably thinking like, yo, where has this guy been for the past couple months? Maybe you're not. Maybe this is your first video that you've seen. Long story short, I'm Dev. This is the Growing with Dev channel, and we're here to talk about growth that goes into tangible growth, that goes into plants, that goes into personal growth, mental, spiritual, physical. If you see any of yourself in me, just know that I aim to grow. So if you want to grow too, in many ways, stick around. So one of the things that I've been going through lately is a car accident. It was not the most pleasant experience, let's just say that. But I was on my way to the beach, Hollywood Beach Boardwalk. If any of you know me intimately, you know that I always go on a run every weekend. It's just something I do to sharpen my mind, burn some extra energy out, get some seawater, air, all that. So I didn't do anything that was out of the norm for me. And literally 2 minutes away from where I was about to park, somebody ended up cutting me off from the left lane and pretty much totaling my Tacoma. I'll show a couple clips of that as well. But it was a scary wake-up call. The fragility of life, my physical health as well. I was more or less good. Don't want to get too much into it, but I'm seeing a chiropractor right now. I saw a neurologist. You know, I just want to make sure that everything is top. Little impacts like that can leave psychological damage, it can leave physical damage. And I just wanted to stop everything. I continued doing the work that I had to do. I was in the middle of moving at the time. Right now, we're in a much better position. You know, I have a lawyer that is helping me with the litigation to get as much compensation as I can from this accident because I was not at fault. I was very fortunate enough to get footage from somebody in the adjacent building that showed the whole thing from an aerial position. So like the man up there, he was definitely watching me. I already have another car. It's the same type of style, Tacoma. I think it's a little bit better this time. It has a grill in the front. So, you know, I learned from my lesson, I guess. This one is like, I think 15, 20K less. Crazy. So everything kind of worked out the way it needed to. And you just have to have a little bit of faith. But all of that, along with moving, along with some interesting things related to how I receive employment, you know, everything's been on the up. And I just had to kind of sit with myself and ask myself where I wanted to go. I didn't want to do too much. I didn't want to say too much. I wanted things to kind of like stabilize a little bit, but now I feel like I'm in a much better position, honestly. Just talking about it, just like, woo! A lot, it's a lot. So the question that some of you are probably thinking, where have I been the past couple months? Where am I? This obviously isn't a farm. This is an apartment, pretty much right next to the airport. It's pretty nice, but definitely different than what I'm used to. I was living on a 5-acre fruit farm in Homestead, way down south in South Florida, right north of Key West, if any of you know South Florida. I learned a lot there, and me not knowing too much about my homeland where I came from a heritage perspective. My family's from Jamaica, but I was the first grandson born here, the first of our family that was born in the States. And there's not a lot I knew about Jamaica. You know, I went there a couple times, I saw fruit trees, I even fed hummingbirds. I did all these different things, but I always considered myself a city boy. And being on a property like this, it was just going from one end of the spectrum completely to the other. I got to experience, you know, how to tend the land. I got to experience the rigors of maintaining a homestead of sorts before even investing in my own homestead. By not having to buy my own property, I was able to kind of try out the farm lifestyle before getting fully into it. Amazing experience. It's very different than here. Very quiet, very chaotic when it comes to wildlife and plants and sun and heat and rain. And while those things are good in doses, sometimes it gets too much. The space I was living in was a little too hot during summer. Not enough space where I can do what I wanted to do, such as host people, have little events, little get-togethers and stuff. And I think as I grow a little bit older, you know, I kind of want that in my life. So living in my cabin, I did it because I had to. My 10-acre farm was 8 minutes away. It was the only place that was that close near my property. I couldn't live on the property due to citation issues and reservations from the landowners, but I could work it. So I leveraged what I had at the time. Now, however, I've reached a point where I want to be closer to the action. I want to see my friends. I want to connect with people again. And I value social interactions because I know that As long as I have my stuff together, I'm gonna resonate with people that also have their stuff together, and together we're gonna just exponentially grow, and that's where I wanna go. I can't do that alone. While you need to isolate yourself as an entrepreneur, I find that too much is not so good. Let's just say that. So by being out here, I've been going to the gym, meeting new people, seeing old faces as well, talking with other entrepreneurs, connecting with as many people as I can. And honestly, it's refreshing. It's a muscle that I haven't flexed in a minute, and I'm glad to do so. So I'm out here in Miami. I was able to find this apartment. I think it's really dope. It's like a blank canvas right now, but we're just gonna be adding little things here and there. But yeah, you guys will probably see a lot more of this space, and I'm just excited to turn this into a nice home and living space for me. I wanted to move a little bit closer to where the action is. I want to network with people who are going to be sharpening me. I've learned as much as I can from John living on this farm, from the farmers around me. I got what I needed. But the business model that I want to go for and go after is something that I used to do when I first started Grow Next Door. This was something that I did through selling soursops. If any of you guys have been tapped into the project from the very, very first beginning, I used to sell farm share CSAs, essentially boxes of vegetables and fruits from other farmers when everything was shut down during 2020. And that was my solution to a problem that I saw where people couldn't buy their fresh food at a farmer's market. So I have a refrigerated van. I was running a vegan distribution business with a co-founder at that time. And we came to an agreement where essentially we would connect with farmers and package up these boxes and sell these boxes of fresh food to people who just wanted to remain socially distant and still wanted access to fresh, healthy food while supporting their farmers. So it was a great solution for everybody, a solution for the person buying the food, a solution for us, and leveraging an asset that we had, and a solution for the farmers who just couldn't sell to farmers markets anymore. And around that time, I experimented with Etsy, and I did a little bit of e-commerce. I sold exotic fruits, more primarily soursops and passion fruit and stuff like that online. I connected with some fruit distributors. They were familiar with people who wanted to do this type of stuff as well. Miami Fruits is obviously one of the biggest names down here in Miami. Fruits in Cahoots started around that same time as well. But eventually I stopped that just because I didn't really want to make that my full thing. I don't want to be known as the fruit guy selling fruits. And I still don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I stopped, but I made a good amount of money. I made a lot of impact. I was able to work with farmers who were shipping from here in Homestead, as well as sourcing some of their fruits from places like Grenada, Dominican Republic. So it was cool, I got that experience. And it was a viable business model. But what I didn't like was where it was gonna go and where it was gonna lead. I didn't have any control over where those fruits came from. Sometimes I didn't have control over what they did to those fruits. You know, these fruits from Grenada, like they could be sprayed by pests, like, you know, they could be paying their workers, you know, wages, pardon my language, but, you know, I had no control over where I'm getting this product from. So I stopped that. I'm like, okay, let me get into farming. Let me actually pick up something, let me do something, let me find land, let me experiment, tinker, try out all these different types of farming projects. Hydroponics, fruit farming, nursery production, microgreens, everything. Talk to every type of farmer that you could possibly think of, even tissue culturists, compost producers, PhD graduates. I went everywhere. But in doing all these things, I stretched myself pretty thin, I'll have to admit. And it kind of comes full circle to where I'm trying to go with this whole move. I don't need to manage 10 acres to do this project. I don't really even need 1 acre. Honestly, I just need a small amount of space, a good brand, and to cultivate my mind before doing anything. I realized that was a big ego death recently, partly due to just the physical energy expended. I only have a finite amount of it, the mental energy, and the finances too. When you pick up something and you do a business operation, it comes with costs. So with, like, for instance, fruit farming, it comes with, you gotta get baggies, you gotta get, you know, fruit pickers. You have to make sure that, you know, the fruits get to where they need to go before they perish. Like, all these are costs and factors related to the product that you're selling. And with farming, sometimes you're dealing with perishable products. It's as simple as that. So what I really resonate with is with ornamentals. Simple plants that anybody can really grow at home. Things like pothos, English ivy, Chinese evergreen, monstera, things that you'll find in like a house. And this is something I picked up while at FIU doing a couple of their workshops, and also at the UFIAS. I learned about propagation, I learned about tissue culturing, and I was very interested because the possibility to take one cell or an X plant or just any type of plant and then replicate it infinitely, I believe that is what Grow Next Door should be. And that's where I want to go with this project. So moved me here, and now I'm working on something that I want to share with you guys very soon. I'm gonna have an Etsy store, an e-commerce store, as well on Shopify, where I'm gonna be growing plants at home and also on the space, the property that I still have access to, the 10 acres and John's property. And then just share with you guys exactly how to do it yourself, how to cultivate these plants when they're in your space, and hopefully we can all learn and grow together. The reason I like ornamental plants is not because they produce some type of food for you, which is where my real end goal is, but it also helps with your mental state. If your plant is dying in the corner of your room, that shows you that something else is as well. You're not focused, you're not paying conscious attention to your living space, and that's an indicator of your mindset. And everything starts with your mindset, including what I've been doing with Grow Next Door. We're starting from level 1. I don't need to start from level 1. I could talk about hydroponics, I could talk about fruit farming, I could talk about all these things, but honestly, it's just too much. So until we get to the point where we unlock those levels, like a video game, we're starting off with one plant. We're gonna start off with English ivy. We're gonna talk about how to grow it. We're gonna talk about how to replicate it. We're gonna talk about how we can care for it as well. And then we're gonna move on to the next plant, and the next plant, and the next plant. And some of these plants will be ornamentals, decorative, inside your house that you can have. And then other plants you can grow in your garden. There'll be perennials, food forest plants, pollinators, things like that. Eventually we'll expand into fruit farming as well. You know, how you can propagate things like mango trees or jackfruit or any of these other plants through cuttings, grafting, whatever. All this is possible through propagation. And eventually, when I get my lab set up, I also want to share with you guys what I'm doing with tissue culturing. I've just been grassroots, talking to people that are interested in it, talking with a couple lab technicians, some people that I've invested in, some people that I've invested time and energy in, and they're teaching me. I'm learning, I'm growing along with you guys. Not an expert yet in any of these things, but I have a vision and I have an idea of what I want to do. So if you guys are willing to stay with me during that time, awesome. We're gonna be growing here. There's gonna be plenty of stuff to learn. And one of the things that I like the best about this is that me living in this space, it's no longer not infeasible for you guys to do. I'm literally living in an apartment as well. We're gonna turn this space from a blank canvas into one that has a lot of plants, a lot of knowledge, a lot of healing energy, not only in just the plant space, but also physically, mentally, spiritually. It all starts here. You don't have to have 5 or 10 acres that you're living on the middle of nowhere. You know, I have to say and go on a limb that, you know, if I had or given the impression that, you know, I was holier than thou by living out in the middle of nowhere, that's a faulty mindset. Honestly, healing and growth starts here, and anybody can do that, regardless of their access to land, regardless of their access to the equipment needed. You know, you have some guys out here that have millions of dollars and they have full-on operations, and more power to them, but not everybody has that. So I want to start off at the grassroots level, sharing with you guys, learning with you guys, and growing with you guys. So if you're with that, stick around. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, comment. I'll see you in the next one. Every week, we're going to be producing something new, and if I don't, message me. Peace.